Playfulness at its best. When I came on earlier today thinking I was going to be more serious, and then I became playful in my mind, and then I got hit by another soul vision, caretaking my heart with this idea that I can somehow embed myself in someone's psyche and help them to overcome the art of war. When we are in that mode of, I just want war, right? I want to have fun. And how many people are saying, I get to have fun off the screen versus on the screen? And so here's the nature of what I want people to think about. Do you know how many people have it in their minds that I use the internet for my platform of war? And then when I'm off the screen, I'm having a grand old time. Or not. You see, this is what is leading most people to that doomsday scenario. I want to have fun. And others are saying, you shouldn't have fun. You should be feeling like crap. And that's absolutely not true. What people have to understand is when we go to being playful, in our hearts, we rise in our vibration. This is the nature of being able to rise in the vibration versus I'm in the vibration of war with myself most often. Those who create war are at war with themselves. But that's a different episode. It's true. And most don't want to know what that actually feels like to have that come back to you. And that's why we project a lot of those anger visions. There's nothing wrong with being angry or wanting to change the world for the better. Okay, this is the nature of who I am also. How we do it does indeed matter. And how we express ourselves matters. Whether or not it's authentic or not is a whole nother story. So I'm going to give you an example of who I am. I often make fun of myself on the soul level. And then when I hear that coming back to me, right, in the form of an insult, you see there's very much a difference between hearing the insults that others are lobbing at you and those who are more jovial in their play. I know how to have a good time, is what so many souls say. And yet this is what many are lacking, to be honest. It's nearly indestructible. The armor that I've had to put on in order to save myself from the, quote, saviors of the world who think they're going to go out and save everybody from themselves, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to save ourselves from others. When we put on the battle gear and those battle wounds that we have when we go through this process, finally, we let go of them and we say it's not worth it. Most souls don't know what it's like to actually do the work that changes this world. And they'll think it's always about laying down the armor and sacrificing themselves. That's not necessarily what people are here to do. That is a soul session for most people. Whether or not you are here to sacrifice yourself in the name of somebody else's vision, that's definitely not on the way for most people. Let's put it that way. What people are doing are uniting in victory. Now, when you can laugh and have a good time at your expense versus at others, there's a big difference. So it takes a wise one to come through and know what it's like to be playful with your own hearts and souls from the soul level versus those who are like, I'm going to challenge so many souls to be more jovial in their expression, and they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it with everything. And I've had my hat handed to me by so many who said, you're too serious. And it's like, oh, that's just my shadow. It's literally just the shadow vision. It's a loving vision. When I deal with topics that are heavy hitters, It's going to be more serious, but in essence, if I can take a light-hearted approach to a lot of the visions, it's going to be easier for us to imagine ourselves walking along this plane, having a more enjoyable and pleasant journey. So what we do is, if we're in the midst of trauma, that's something different than where most people are. And this is the nature of understanding that. Many are creating trauma for others by, it's like completely reducing it to a minor incident on the soul level. That's not necessarily true for all souls. Most of us do have indeed those traumas in our life, and we keep replaying it as if it was still there in our minds, and it's not. It's another story being retold without the nuances of soul guidance to help work through that image from a plane of love. That's what Brenda gets and got yesterday, okay? Where she is literally in a half sleep, working through the vision with her soul about the deconstructing and the deprogramming of the trauma that was placed there by others. This is a sound bite for somebody, okay? What we're saying, though, is that when we look at life as if it were a play or a story, others will say, oh, that is demeaning to my pain. Don't sit in it like it's yesterday. Open up your heart to the nature of, how can I move forward in a way that's more lighthearted, or in a way that's more happy-go-lucky, right? Some of us are so serious in our work that we tend to forget the beauty of the play in our lives. And Brenda was getting told, you need to go have fun, and she's like, I can't. I couldn't think of anything to do that would create the fun in my mind until I sit there and start making fun of myself and the way in which I create fun. Now, we are definitely not encouraging people to poke fun at others. That's not being playful, because, okay, that's what she says. Someone was going to say, I'm going to poke fun at you, and she's like, I wouldn't try it. Because in essence, she is the one that will say, I need to be in the mood in order for someone to come at me and say that there's something wrong with who I am in some way, shape, or form. And in essence, I'm very, very critical of myself already. So having other people, place critique on me is something else that's incredibly difficult for me. And when I have fun on the soul level, which, believe it or not, I do sometimes, it's been a while, then it's like the world just works out in a better way. You start to create from that place of lightness in your energy. You start to create from that place of, I can work my energy into this movement of joy. Okay, and it doesn't have to be the extreme happiness that so many think that they need in order to create a beautiful sensation. You can just do a play upon words. I love you too, by the way. That's the nature of who I am when I'm in myself as me, and I start to hear various souls coming to me saying that they love who I am, and I say that in return without even knowing who it is. Now, I'm going to tell you about the nature of what people will say. Some people are not in the frame of mind to be playful because they're in a more serious mood. There's nothing wrong. We're not telling everybody you have to chase the happy all the time, but because that's what it is. That's that, I want to chase the happy. I want to chase the good times, right? How many people are chasing it? I've got to create it for myself because it doesn't just arrive on my doorstep, does it? So we plant the seeds of having a good time, either with those around us or with those in other spaces. But what we want people to be aware of is the amount of time that you create with the negativity on the screen, you're going to notice the difference in the kinds of guidance that you'll also get. And this is why I'm telling people, because if you want to open up to the nature of love of self, you've already got it. I'm doing a chapter already on that vision, and it's very entertaining. But what I want people to understand is to love yourself is to let yourself go. Let yourself be free to enjoy this world when everyone seems to be telling you that there's something wrong with you if you are not in the doldrums of the end of the world. You are actually holding us to a higher vibration that is letting those who are here to do the quote destruction do their destruction as souls. If we were all in that mindset, this plane would be a very different plane, and we don't need that kind of vibration. Now, when others are saying, but we have things that need to be changed for the better, that's a beautiful expression. So why don't we use the art of play as a mode of expressing ourselves? This is what the comedians are amazing at. They know how to they know how to create those words of wisdom in a way that gets people laughing and enjoying the vision of it. Okay, they poke fun at the inequalities often, and then sometimes they get too serious, right? Or others will say, you took it too far. It depends on the nature of who we are. My own soul knows that I vibrate in the beauty of art of distinguished behavior. I tend to be more serious in my presentation than I am joyful, and that's because I'm still in the thick of it with the art of soul, which is where I'm at, helping others to guide them to a more high vision of who they are that doesn't actually keep them down in the dumps. There are a lot of people on this plane who are trying to lift their hearts up to someone else versus realigning with the beauty that they themselves are, no matter what vibration they're carrying, actually. And that's the nature of acceptance. And that's when you start to feel beautiful again. That's the beauty of the word, acceptance. Okay? It means that you start to feel like, I don't have to be what everyone else wants me to be. And I don't have to have them be what I want them to be. Because who am I to tell them who they are to be? Other than, the highest vision of who I am, right? This is when your own soul's connecting to you and telling you might want to go a different way. You see, that's the nature of what I get. And sometimes I don't listen, and I continue to go in and play with a soul or two. And then I hear these words and I laugh at them most often. Because I realize, I'm walking on this plane, enjoying who I am many times. Other times, what it really is are others enjoying me for who I am? This is where a lot of people are. They are thinking, I want to be enjoyed by others. I want to be entertained by others as well. We want to see the spice in life. We want to see the joy of experimentation. We want to see the joy of an interesting, beautiful soul that I have that's more risque in their mindset versus who I am here. Okay, that's the nature of what true joyful expression is. Okay, it can come in many forms, but this is the PG rated video that I'm going to be doing. The moment of, it's like the playful art of seduction is part of that vibration. Okay, and that's where some souls will look at themselves and say, how many people want to be around people who are just miserable all the time? Now, others will vibrate. Others will vibrate in that vision. Now, you may have a reason for being miserable, and our hearts go out to those who are. But it's true. I mean, honestly, do you, and this is where I go so much, and I know that my heart goes out to all those souls who had to listen to all those change visions. I'm trying to get people to understand the vibration of it versus me sitting in it. Okay? That's what that is, a releasing of the understanding. So people may decide to go, aha, that clicks in my mind, and I understand why I'm where I'm at. Others are here to sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. That's what a lot of people are saying. I'm going to sacrifice my happiness for others. And then at some point, we say to ourselves, now it's my turn. Now it's my turn to shine my light, right? Brenda is so much about that duality and saying, oh, please give it up with the dark and the light. You people have no idea what you're working with. Everyone assumes they're of the light no matter what they're doing. And in essence, you're so everyone else is the dark. No one else comes on and says, I'm the dark. Well, there are some souls. But notice that. How many people... I used to, right? Not really. What I did, only thing I worked with the light was the idea of, if I was in the idea of I'm going to help someone, I'm going to protect somebody or something like that. It was more like if they were asking for prayers, I would go in and surround them with the vision of white light. That's the only thing. It was like, I had no idea I was actually doing that work. What I was doing was telling people they're of the dark, right? If I assume that I'm in the dark, right? How many people assume I'm in the dark because I know how to channel or because of the vibration, right? I got accused of so many different things that I had to hear about. Oh, I've gone through some stuff. I still wouldn't call it the dark, okay? Because that's a duality and it's very subjective. Most people are just throwing judgments. They have no idea what they're talking about. And that's the nature of it. That's why I laugh at a lot of the things. I'm not saying that whatever the other person or people or group is doing is something that I would consider, to be good for us, or that's, not needing to be changed in my own experience. But I wouldn't label it something because that's something that I know better. Because I'll hear from the souls about what it is that's really going on and why it's happening. And it's not obvious why certain souls have to go through painful experiences in order to break free of a vibration from some other plane. That's why people need to open up to the nature of, why are we here on this plane? Why are we here? Others will say, oh, it's the misery plane. It's here to show us more of who we are and how we can become more of who we are here and not have to wait until we cross over and then we lift off the conditioning of everyone else's biases and problems and whatnot, and we can sit there and enjoy ourselves. Now, some people truly can't, but when we are on this plane, in this vibration, and we're thinking to ourselves, we've got it so bad. Usually we can find those areas of life where we go, let me look around. Is my life really that horrible? Some people will say yes. I've done the art of deconditioning myself from so much misery that it's unbelievable. I can literally walk outside and just wipe away most of that stuff. Because I'm in that place of being able to do that. And many will see why. Of course, I've got this skin tone and whatnot going on, but my life is not privileged as of yet. That's getting unwound for the most part. Most people are talking about it as if it's a negative thing, and we're going to talk about that in a different issue. It's a label that many are placing on people without actually knowing what that means on a soul level. We're all beautiful. You want to tell yourself you are of specialness always. And that's what you get granted by your own soul. You are beautiful in every way, shape, and form. But what people try to do here is to help us understand why we're in the situations that we're in. And when that happens, then you get a different perspective. And it kind of takes off this idea of trying to lob stuff at people and place them in these ideas of there's something wrong with them for being who they are, versus I'm experiencing a situation that isn't pleasant and I'm now placing it upon someone else's plate to deal with. And that's fine. If it's not yours, don't deal with it. Right? But if we're wanting the chains, ooh, that's what that is. See, we could go to that seriousness very easily, but we're going to set that topic aside as well. Okay? So how would we do this work where we're more in that idea of let's have fun and let's have the joy? This is why the internet or the news in whatever shape or form can be an inhibitor of the art of joy. It can be an inhibitor of the playfulness of the moment. It can be an inhibitor of the moments of freedom from the direct sins of the Father. So many souls are claiming they're of, the God vibration, that they're there creating from it. What do you think that does? Okay. So we have a rest in peace author of poetry. Sinead O'Connor is calling her music poetry. And she says Brenda knows what it's like to challenge the vision of the Pope. And she denied his vision access to her vision at one point. But now she honors that vision and understands the nature of why we create what we create. It's the nature of wanting to take the burdens off of who we are, express whatever expressions we need, but do so in a way, right? This is not telling people how to be. I can't tell you how to be. What I'm saying is when you do that vision from a place of playfulness, you start to attract more and more. You start to invite people who are able to lift others up, who want to be in that frame of mind of the world's in a heavy vibration. No, it is not. It may seem like it depending on where you're operating from in your mind. Soul level understanding has a very much more significant vibration that it's working with, which is the nature of creation at its finest. This is the nature of creation at its finest. We're creating beauty wherever we go. What we don't understand are why are those souls suffering who are in those fields of vision? And that's when it comes to soul workers who know how to handle those ideas of who's doing what and why. Sinead O'Connor is a poet, and she's an artist, and she's a founding member of a group that she wants to be known as. And she says, I was looked at as a group of psychological experimentation that I deny inherently. And that's why Brenda knows what that is, because in essence, she is saying, I unite with all artists who are saying we are denied the beauty of our thin skin. She says Brenda has thin skin when it comes to her weight. That is true. I will totally honor that. She was of thin, and she says I was beheld as the beauty of it, knowing full well that I was the betrothed of another. So she's also bringing out some other vision of a betrothal, which means engagement. And she's saying that's coming Brenda's way at some point. It's a message to her soul, right? Because in essence, Brenda honors that vision, beautiful, beautiful songs. And she's out of that vibration of that nature. She's out of it's like the nature of dishevelment. Okay, she says the world isn't as disheveled as we think. She's seeing the beauty in the world in a different way now. She's seeing the beauty of her process in a different way. She says, I'm more at peace and at rest than I am at peace. So in her mind, she's more, I'm resting. Give me the rest, everybody. She wants to be at rest with Brenda. because Brenda knows the beauty of what that is. The silence, the moments of love for yourself that you finally get to feel when you reunite in your heart with who you really are and where you are. And that's where she's at in her whole soul vision. She's still creating with other aspects of who she is from various planes. And when she does that vision, she does it well. She's an artist. She's like the mastery of it. She knew I had to do it for my own soul's worth. She felt it was her duty to do her worth in that way. I fought for the children, is what she said. And she herself knows what that means, because she aligns with those who know how to do the art of joy. She was very joyful in moments, in her moments. She was fearful at one point for her life. And she says, and I overcame that vision very much so in order to become a more healthful soul. She's of the health as well. And she said she was more in line with that idea of my health matters, but I wasn't able to pull it through as if it was the only thing that mattered. You see, some of us are so self-determined to get our causes out into this world that we neglect the beauty of who we are as souls creating from a place of love of self and of others. And it is in that love of others that we cherish each other, creating a better place for each of us to reside in. Most often, we want everyone to enjoy who they are. And when we can't, that's when we have to ask ourselves, what is it that I am creating and why? Am I playful in my journey with my children? This is for me. I'm a more serious soul. I went through a very, very rough time with the process of soul embodiment and enlightenment. The enlightenment process is probably the hardest thing to do because you have those attachments that you're still trying to hold on about who you think you are from various levels. And I don't give up on my mind, but it's still a very strong place to create from. So what is it in your life that you can create with that causes you to be more playful, right? That's where a lot of souls are. A lot of souls are like, ooh, I'm playful with my friends or my family or my loved ones or those who are more industrious in their minds about how to do certain things. It's the nature of attraction that often creates that. Those souls who are able to attract joy often are the strongest attractors of evil, right? Do you know how many comedians get lobbed that there's something wrong with them and they attract all this negative? Oh, people need to lighten up. You know, it's known on a comedic level that they are making a statement, but they're doing so with the power of play. And that's the power of it. Go play. Go enjoy the world if you can. And if you can only do it in your own backyard, by all means, do it in your own backyard, right? Not all of us are here to sit there and condemn everybody for what? Having a good life? That's what's happening. And that is the most ridiculous thing ever, to be honest. Because if we're trying to have everyone have a good life, why would we deny that for ourselves? And how do we determine what a good life is? Right? Pretty soon, everyone's going to be bringing out a chart saying, oh, you crossed over into this category. You don't get that good life anymore. Who's the decider of what a good life is, right? Some people come here to learn a lot of lessons, okay? And that's why the idea of telling anybody else what their soul is here to do is ridiculous. We are not here to be the same. So go enjoy your life. Go have fun. Go do the duties of friendship, right? How many people are feeling the nature of my duty is to do X, Y, or Z? because I was told and da 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 da. If that feels right for you, by all means, go do that. But if it starts to feel like an obligation, you might want to rethink that vision. You see, I work with the idea of what words am I planting in my mind? Not just as a negative. It's not that it's negative. It's just, oh, doesn't that suck? Right? Are you feeling obligated to create with certain people? And then we don't mean occasionally, right? And some people are, and they continue to create with that idea of like, oh, this sucks. And we don't want people to feel that. We want you to rise in your vibration. And when people say that, they go, oh, this is one of those spiritual things. Okay, how do you rise in your vibration? You ask yourself, why am I where I'm at? And usually it's about 4 to 6 questions before most of those souls would be unwound in why they are where they are. And then they would have to take on the responsibility of making some changes that they don't want to make. Most often. Even I fall into that trap sometimes. And then my soul will tell me something. I'm like, oh, that sucks. It means I got to do something I don't want to do. Right? It could be as simple as, taking out the trash or, it could be something. But most often, I've already done a lot of heavy lifting for myself and others. And so I tend not to do that work for a lot of people. But at this point, I want everyone to send themselves flowers in their mind. It's a graceful bouquet that Sinead O'Connor sends to all of us. It's to Brenda's soul, basically. But it's that nature of the sending of a graceful bouquet, which is basically that idea of we're resting in peace. We don't need to put on a show for a family. We don't need to put a show on for everybody else. We know where we are. If we're in peace and prosperity, we're in good shape. Some people want to be the comedic geniuses. Others of us just want to have a good time. And it doesn't mean we have to light up the stage with every breath. That's a lot of pressure for people. We know that vision for those souls. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And also, as my soul guided me to, stay curious, wise, and soulful.